You've searched it already. What is the average pension pot for someone who is 60 in the UK? And whatever number came up, it probably did one of two things. Either it scared you or it gave you some peace of mind. Unfortunately, neither one is right because that number isn't built to describe you specifically. In this video, I'm going to show you the real UK figure for someone your age, why the headline number is inflated, and the one calculation that tells you if you're actually on track, not just where you rank against everyone else. So the first point is average versus median. The figure that gets quoted as average is almost never what a typical person has saved. It's pulled up by a small number of very large pension pots sitting at the top of the pile. Picture 10 people in a room. They're all around 60, all approaching retirement. 9 of them have pension savings, somewhere between 40 and 150 grand. One of them, after a long career and a generous employer scheme, has £900,000. Add all 10 pots together and divide by 10, and the average in that room comes out above 160,000. Not one of the 9 typical savers is anywhere near that number. That's what an average does. It doesn't tell you what's typical, it tells you what the total looks like once one outlier has dragged it upward. This is why we look at the median instead. The median is the middle value. Half of people have more, half have less. It's a far more honest picture of what's actually typical. The most recent reliable UK figure for pension wealth held by someone aged 55 to 64 is £107,300. That's the number your search results probably didn't show you. That's the honest figure for where people typically stand, but knowing it still doesn't tell you if you're doing enough. Because the real question was never how you compared to everyone else. Point number 2, your own gap. Knowing the median doesn't tell you if you're personally on track. That depends on 2 things. Number 1, what you plan to spend, and number 2, what you're guaranteed to receive without lifting a finger. Take a hypothetical couple, we'll call them David and Sue, and they're both 60. Between them, they've built up pension savings close to that median figure, roughly £110,000 each, so around £220,000 combined. On its own, that might sound a bit thin, but neither of them has factored in the state pension yet, which for a full entitlement currently pays out just over £11,500 a year each from their state pension age. That's an extra £23,000 a year landing in one of their accounts before they've touched a penny of their own pot. So here is the calculation that matters. Take what you plan to spend each year in retirement, subtract your guaranteed income, that's your state pension and any defined benefit pensions if you're lucky enough to have one. What's left is the gap your own savings need to cover. For many couples, that gap is smaller than the total figure suggests because state pension carries more of the weight than people expect. So the real number to know isn't the average and it isn't the median, it's what your own gap is, which raises the obvious next question: what do you do if that gap still looks big? So point number 3 is all about closing the gap. A gap that looks difficult at 60 shouldn't be a reason to panic, but it is a reason to act. And there's a small number of things that make the biggest difference. Picture 2 people with the same £30,000 shortfall in their expected retirement income. One starts adjusting their plan at 45, the other waits until 58. The person who started at 45 can close that gap with a modest increase to their monthly contribution. The person starting at 58 has a fraction of the time, so the adjustment needed for the same result is far, far larger. The gap doesn't change, the cost of closing it does. 3 things worth doing regardless of your starting point. Check your state pension forecasts. It's a free government tool, and some people can fill gaps in their national insurance record to boost what they're entitled to. Review what you're contributing now against what you could be contributing, including anything your employer will match. And finally, get your own number properly calculated rather than relying on a national benchmark to tell you where you actually need to stand. None of this needs to be complicated. It needs to be specific to you, not to a national average. None of this was really about being above or below the average. It's about knowing your own number rather than borrowing someone else's. Whether that means retiring exactly when you planned or bringing that date forward because your numbers allow it. That clarity is what lets you enjoy the years you've worked for instead of wondering if you've done enough. If you'd like to talk any of this through with one of our planners, use the link in the description box below to schedule your free introductory meeting. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.